Thank you very much, Atlas. Great cast on the day. I am Freak, joined by VODS and Azael for Worlds Cooldown. I almost said LCS Cooldown. I've done that. Every time I've thought about it, I got it right.
We have two-thirds of an LCS
We
cooldown.
have two-thirds of an LCS Cooldown. You're our LCS Pro player.
Thank you.
You're like, what, Diamond 2 EU West?
Yeah, let's say that.
Yeah, you failed your so you're basically an LCS level player.
Diamond 2 Nocturne level.
That's more accurate.
Oh. All right, and it's Worlds in case you were confused. There's Thundersticks. We're live in the audience. It's perfect. So this was a pretty exciting day. It closed out 3 of the groups here. My pick'ems got scuffed a little bit at the sort of near the end right here, but really interesting. There's only 2 undefeated teams. Lots of these groups are very, very close to the standings.
Yeah, I think that what we've seen is I think people are a little surprised by how dominant G2 and SKT were. I think many expected the groups to be a little bit closer. And when we tunnel in a little bit more on Group A, I think we got to see a little bit of why, because G2, while they can be a very dominant team, they also like to have fun in a lot of their games. And sometimes that can be both a blessing and a curse for the side of G2.
The thing that's so impressive about it for me is that for a lot of other teams, even teams that are sometimes top in their region, if you have one player having the kind of game that, Mickey had this game, for example, that can be disaster. That can be you dropping the game to these guys. But for G2, it never feels to matter because they're so individually talented and they play so well together that they can always turn it on, it feels like.
Yeah, and it's Jack mentioned it on the caster desk, but it's about how their ability to problem solve within the game, recognize, okay, we've had enough fun, we need to focus in, otherwise the game is going to
No more fun allowed.
Yeah, and I think that one of the more consistent members and vocal leader points is Perks. He's one of the reasons why so many people have so much respect for him, and he's often considered a leader. But when we think about the 3 days, you can say that every member has had their ups and downs, but Perks has been the most consistent performer of the 3 days.
Absolutely agree. He's been absolutely incredible. 3-0 again for G2 right here. And coming into the day, there was actually some really incredible stats that Jat shared with me, which were that they're the bloodiest team at Worlds by far, and they were tied with, I think it was Samsung White, for like how aggressive they were, how many combined kills they had. And of course, Samsung White went on to win the 2014 World Championship. They were also the fastest winning team here at Worlds, and they were tying IG from the group stage of Worlds last year in how fast they could win games. That's either,
I'm noticing a positive trend here.
Right, but in aggressiveness and winning speed, they were tied with former world champions as far as the group stage was concerned. Now this game, a little bit of a slower win. It was only 30 minutes. Oh, woe is them. They're slightly closer to average right there, but they absolutely have been dominant. They've been one of the most impressive looking teams to me, so I want to continue to give them props. Of course, they just played the game right now, so they're on top of my mind. But they were one of my top 3 teams coming into Worlds. With how much fun plus or wavering, they're top 2 at the very least for me for winning the championship.
Yeah, and I think they're going to remain that way unless things change in week 2, right? I think most people would say they're the most impressive team thus far in the group stage. I would certainly think that they are the favorites at this point. It's still early in the tournament, but they've looked really, really good.
All right, well, for more on that G2 game, let's hear from G2 support.
Thanks guys, Laure here, and joining me right now is Mickey after the game against Hong Kong Attitude. Congrats on winning this one. I feel like you didn't have the best start. We're going to be honest about this, but even though you conceded a lot of kills, you stayed ahead. So were you worried at any point that you might lose the game?
Yeah, I was a bit worried at one point. After I was like 0-5, I was like, I'm actually giving a lot of gold to the enemy team. But then again, I knew that my team was really ahead, so I wasn't that worried, but they were playing pretty well as well. So yeah, I was like a bit worried, yeah.
You know what, let's talk about this Rakan performance, because I recall seeing a tweet from Grabs yesterday saying that he wouldn't let you play Rakan again, yet he did. But tell me, what is he going to tell you now that you hinted a bit here?
Yeah, I'm probably not going to play Rakan again. Enemy probably doesn't have to ban it anymore. I'll just probably stay away from the champion. It just doesn't work anymore. Yesterday was like a fluke, and today I showed my true Rakan. It's very bad, so I probably won't play it ever again.
Dude, what happened? You're good on playmaking champions, really.
Maybe the trash was just too good. But yeah, I was really like... Yeah, I guess it was my time today to int. Yesterday was Jankos and Wunder, and today is me. Next week, hopefully... I'm not the one again, and it's up to Perks and Caps to int a bit and let it all out. But yeah, I guess we'll see.
That was a strange game, but would you say that Hong Kong Attitude is the team who challenged you the most so far? And if not, who was it?
I mean, yeah, I think so far they've been the team that challenged us the most, just because it actually felt like we were like at one point at like a stalemate, and we were just like kind of trading vision, not really fighting much. as of, I mean, compared to other teams, we were just like kind of ahead throughout the whole game. I felt like I never felt like we'd actually lose the games, but here it was like a bit iffy, I guess.
Right now, you're 3-0, so I expect you guys to get out of group. So who will get out of group alongside you? Cloud9, Griffin, based on what you saw from the teams?
Based on what I saw, I think Griffin is probably going to be the second seed. I think they've been playing pretty decent. I think Cloud9 and HK are both good, but Griffin just better than them, I think.
Well, we'll see about that in the second round, Robin. Congratulations, nonetheless, for winning this game, and thank you very much for the interview. And back to you guys in Cooldown.
Welcome back to World's Cooldown. And another topic I want to bring up here is how bot lane's been shaping up. Of course, Mickey down there at support role alongside Perks, who just played a game of Yasuo. But there's two players I want to highlight, and they are World's veterans at this point. You've got Reckless on the one hand and Sneaky on the other for Fnatic and Cloud9. Sneaky did play one marksman pick. No, sorry, that was Heimer in game one. So neither one playing marksman at all. And both these teams are on third place looking out of the standings.
Yeah, and I think fans are very disappointed with both of the teams' performances thus far, right? You know, Cloud9 maybe not expected to get out of this group, but people were still kind of cautiously optimistic, given that they've had so much success in the past. And it does feel a little bit strange, especially, I think, particularly from Fnatic, because they are kind of known for having a really strong bottom lane and going so much away from what had been one of their big strengths, you know, playing these kind of more off-meta things, at least as far as the World's meta has gone, and it hasn't really worked out very well for them.
So during the regular season, Reckless played a lot of Karma, and this was something that did receive a couple of nerfs on this patch, but it felt like that they were in this direction where they wanted to play a safe bot lane to allow Hylissang to roam. And we got to see an element of it today with the Morgana/Blitzcrank, where you can just leave Morgana alone and then allow Hylissang to roam around the map. And while I acknowledge that it is a strategy that works, I am surprised that Fnatic, it seems to me like they've lost faith in Reckless, because either he's lost faith in himself or the team has lost faith in him. But there were many examples, even during the finals, where they put him in positions to carry, and he did. And I feel like he's more than capable of doing it on the international stage, yet for some reason, we're not seeing it from him.
And it's very similar with Fnatic as it was to what I was talking about earlier today with Cloud9, where I feel like these teams are playing the laning phases fine, but playing out team fights is so much different when you have a marksman versus not having a marksman. You know, we saw how RNG was able to play so incredibly well around the Fnatic comp, you know, never grouping up for Reckless to get a good ultimate. He never really had an impactful ultimate in the entire game, and you know that's something that is just so differing from when you are playing, you know, a Tristana or a Sivir or one of these kind of scaling champions that he's really well known for, where you can get such a high amount of consistent damage out.
And of course, on the other side, you're seeing clips here from Sneaky's Heimerdinger game set a day 1 or day 2 damage per minute record, something like 1,400. You know, really, really high stuff right there. But overall, this is the other half of it. Here's his Cassiopeia game, where he was absolutely, it felt like the reason they were losing. Bot lane was why G2 took down Cloud9 in the midst of Licorice taking over and everything else going well for them. This was very much a very rough bot lane. And here's his Sona game. And again, it's a lot of missed crescendos and really the better bot lane won. It felt like you're getting more out of the Yuumi Garen on the other side.
You know, even if I give them a pass for losing to G2, because G2 can make teams look very, very foolish, I was honestly really disappointed in their other two games, both their loss against Griffin, but even in their win, right? You know, these were games where it just seemed like they had a complete inability to play side lane when that was the way that they had to close the game, right? We saw in their first game against HKA, they played this Heimer, they got a big gold lead, and essentially just rammed their head against Garen for 20 minutes until they accepted they couldn't kill him, and then 50-50 to Baron happened to win. Then they draft Fiora here against Griffin today. It felt like they were in a great position again to win through split, but the team wasn't able to actually do it, which has just been, you know, kind of surprising and very disappointing to see.
So throughout the year, what we've seen is a lot of AD carries have gradually been nerfed. When we think back to the beginning of the year, we saw a lot of Sivir's Eye, and then like Sivir started falling off, and then Kai'Sa received a small nerf recently. And the impression that I get is because AD carries weren't buffed a lot, whereas, you know, Xayah, because of Rakan, largely stayed very relevant, it feels like that AD carries are saying there aren't as many champions available. So by picking up mages and by going for a different direction, they feel they have more agency and more control on the bot side of the map. Yeah. And I wonder if that's a large part of why we're seeing them put in this position more, because they just don't feel they have the AD carry options that they can have the same impact on.
What's interesting is like 8 different marksmen got buffs in the patches leading up towards as well, right? Ash, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
so I wonder how many undiscovered champs there are. I know I don't mind seeing the Garen Yuumis and whatnot and everything else, and we can go down the rabbit hole of bot lanes for a while. We've got more to talk talk about, though. I want to bring up standings from groups that finish off today. The first one that will complete the second round robin is going to be Group B. It's the Fun plus Phoenix J-Team Splice group. Here's the overall standings. Again, as we mentioned, it's G2 over in Group A, SKT over in Group C, who are undefeated. Otherwise, the rest of these groups, very, very tight. Really only AHQ in a really bad spot down there at 0-3, but a bunch of 2-1 ties in the 2-1, 1-2 group. And again, attention over to Group B. Splice's group here, 1 and 2, only a single game behind first, and we've seen near wins and rough losses from them.
It's been quite a controversial group, considering it was considered the group of life. Everyone looked at it and said, oh, FPX free, they're going to get out first place in that group, and everyone else. I think a lot of fans didn't know what to expect from J-Team and GAM, so people looked at, because Splice had a poor performance, it could have gone literally any way, but now it feels like it's the same as that, except FPX is also included because of their performances. And the fact that so many different players and teams have been performing at different levels from game to game, I feel it's very difficult to evaluate how strong or who really stack ranks in this group.
Yeah, it can be very difficult, but I also think that if you look at the performance just from today from FPX, that was incredible.
It was.
I think when you look at Doinby's performance today on the Kale, as well as the Rise yesterday, he is really starting to ramp up, and I kind of get that feeling that the Beast has awoken and is going to be really very difficult to beat in the second week, which is why I'm kind of looking at J-Team and saying, like, well, maybe you get out just because you're the one team that got a win off of a weaker FPX, because if they come into the second week and slam everyone and everyone else trades wins, well, J-Team's already up one.
Yeah, J-Team's already a game ahead of Splice. They won the head-to-head the first time around, so there's a decent chance that they just stay ahead and the two teams at 2-1 remain 2-1. I definitely do have less faith than FPX now than I did before, right? They lost the game to J-Team. They needed a Baron steal to beat Splice, so there's really only one game they've played that looked like the FPX I expected. I still have to, trust all the prep coming in that they will turn it on, but it's not been convincing. On the Splice side, they could so easily have been 2-1 themselves, really only handed one bad loss. But otherwise, as the resident LEC expert here, give me your odds on Splice making it out.
Well, right now, very low. Humanoid has been a massive disappointment to me, and it feels like we're seeing different issues from the team. Like, a lot of us on the analyst desk were talking about how we want to see consistency and reliability from Kobe, and in those late game fights, we were like, do more, go in, you have so many tools and power, and you could carry this game, and he doesn't.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is with Splice, but it seems like they have all the pieces to succeed. They often have the tools necessary to win, yet when it actually comes down to when you have to step up, that's when they fail. That's when they crumble. And that's why for so long in Europe, they've been considered the gatekeepers, the team that sits above the bad teams, but the one that can never quite break into being the best.
Yeah, and here they are, right? Like having a pretty quick exit in playoffs, but doing really well in the regional qualifier to then make that run. Either way, we return on the 17th with Group B playing out the rest of their round robin. That's going to be the one. Again, the games to watch for the most English speakers is Splice, who's second in the day, and then Fun Plus and GAM. But the big one, them versus J-Team. I think there is a chance that if Splice lose, they can still make it through, but the odds are so slim. If that one is dropped, they are done.
They have a little bit of time to reset mentally. We'll see if Humanoid can turn in a better performance, because I do think if he could step up in the second round robin, Splice still have a good shot at getting out.
Yeah, and I think that first game is going to matter a lot, because as you were just saying, that if they drop that game, it becomes a lot harder. But also if it can really make the results very interesting depending on how things play out. What level does FPX show up? Can GAM get any more surprising upsets?
Yeah.
Like, it's such a close group that I think that pretty much anyone has a possibility of getting out.
Yeah, your form of the day is going to mean a lot. Now, if you missed any of the action today, just kidding, the prompter scrolled. Now it's back. If you missed any of the action today, make sure you stay right here for the rebroadcast, starting off as soon as we head out. And, of course, keep in mind that League's 10-year celebration is in full swing. Check out the anniversary stream at celebrate.leagueoflegends.com in just about 6 hours from exactly right now. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be exciting. I'm excited about that one, honestly. How
long have you been in League of Legends now,
I've been in League of Legends since closed beta in around, I want to say, August of 09. So I've played League for just over 10 years myself.
What's your highlight?
My highlight is a tournament game in like December 09. I was playing Corki, and I was like, I think a Twitch is following us around right now. This is back when Twitch had full invisibility, and Corki revealed stealth. So I queued our feet. We saw Twitch. We focused him down. He gets 10%, flashed away, still stealth, and I'm like, Corki Rocket, Corki Rocket. I killed Twitch from stealth. My stream was broken during that game, so no one got to watch it. I was streaming that match and my stream went down.
I love that you had an immediate answer. I thought I was basically giving you an impossible question. What's the one moment from the past decade? And you're like, well, it was 12:42 on a Wednesday. I was drinking an orange soda.
Game 2, we made it to the finals, then we lost to Reginald in the finals. Now for myself, the casters, the entire broadcast crew, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you here next time for the continuation of groups. Good night.
Good.
Divine Red Judgment needs to do something here for Nemesis. 4 versus 3. Uzi flashes forward. He gets Hillisang. The feathers fly. And they come back. 1, 2 for Nemesis. He needs to find more. Xiaohu is low, but Uzi finishes it off. Dashes are going forward. Lyra's been exhausted. He's forced to flash. That's a very good Feather Storm. Or Feathers coming back. Rather Faker.
Like SKT and G2, right? G2, with this sort of lead, is going to group 5 and dive you.
It's not as chaotic as when you watch teams like G2 in their approach.
Man,
Their solo laners just like to style on people, QuickShot.
absolutely the case. Effort and Teddy finally make the combination work. Levi's not going to spot Zanti in here. He's standing in the bush behind him. That is just a supreme display of talent. Crisp and Sia now moving forward. That's an auto attack connecting on a Slay that holds him in place. Condemn will also lock him against the wall.
Matches come out of the ashes underneath you.
Nimraj right on top of them as well. Xerxes just going to be taken down as an afterthought. There's the Requiem, his little bit gigantic shield. Viper. Why is Licorice there? So lucky he's Licorice is going to dive into the back of the fight. Tarzan goes down low, but the Fiora is dead. The Sona dies as well. Griffin may have found it. 3 kills now. Already a teleport towards the bottom side of the map. Already Unified has taken down Mickey. We're going to even out the odds here on G2 side. It's Caps. He's going to grab a kill back, and now Unified's getting stabbed. The flash forward from Purse, another orb and a double kill. Mickey goes golden, not going to die just as Caps just destroys Crash. Didn't even notice because it happens way too fast as Unified. He's almost an afterthought as Perks gets a double.
G2 Esports will join SK Telecom T1 as the only 2 teams to close out the first round robin 3-0.